Okay, so we're working on this wiring issue, but we had some other problems. So this is the life of a classic cruiser. I was going to do some troubleshooting. I went to start the truck, and I haven't started this thing in like 6 months. So I got on the battery charger. I'm cranking, and nothing works, and it's not starting. So I'm like, well, it ran fine when I last messed with it. So I squirted a little starting fluid, the intake, and it starts right up. So hey, what do we know? We know it's fuel. All right, why is it not getting fuel? We pulled off the return line right there and cranked it. Nothing came out. All right, not getting any fuel. And if you recall, the reason how we got it running in the first place was the cutout relay, or sorry, circuit opening relay. Circuit opening relay, red with a green, goes to the fuel pump, and it goes down here to our check connector labeled FP, red with the green. Came over here to our test connector. The fuel pump is this corner up here. Try to jump it with a jumper. Put a jumper in from battery positive to the fuel pump. Still nothing. Crank, wouldn't start. So I'm like, all right, well, this is odd. So I took my multimeter here and we set it to amps, DC amps, and I got one lead up to positive, and you'll see here when I hook this up to the fuel pump, fuel pump is pulling 11 amps, and I'm like, whoa, it could be pumping, not sure. So we opened up our fuel filter. Here's the line. A bunch of fuel came out because it was running when we parked it a few months back, and we hook up the 11 amps and no fuel comes out. Boom. Well, that sucks. So we're not getting any gas, no fuel. So right now, Buzzing Electrical Troubleshooting is on hold, and we're going to deal with this fuel pump. So there's an inspection plate in the back here. Unfortunately though, that is only the fuel sender, so that only is just for the fuel level sender there. So it's pulling 11 amps. That's a lot. That's a decent amount of power. If it was a bad ground, I don't think it would be pulling 11 amps. If it was a bad ground or a wiring issue, we would put power to it and it wouldn't do anything. It would pull 1 amp, 2 amps, 0 amps. So our fuel pump is shorted to ground and it's not operating. So I think that leads us to believe that we have a bad fuel pump. But let's drop the tank and see what happens. All right, one last try before we pull the tank. I thought I was able to find the connector here for the fuel pump right there. And so I got my jumper cables out. I hooked up the 66, good battery, and try to jump it with my little jumper leads. No fuel. So I think that's pretty much troubleshot right there. It needs a fuel pump. So I don't really want to drop the tank, but we got to drop it. Let's drop it. Okay, so we got the fuel tank out. So let me show you how I did that. So your cross member here, that for your spare tire, you got 4 14mm head bolts. So we took those out, nice and rusty and crusty. And then there's an inspection panel here that covers up a lot of the fuel vent valves. So to pull that off, there's a drain plug on the bottom of the fuel tank, and so we drained it all out, used buckets to catch it all, put it in the cans. Freaking made a mess. I'm all full of gas, but that's all right. And then you got all these hoses here So we loosened all these clamps. They are all right up here. And go right up in there. Loosen them all up. Broke those loose. Broke loose the fuel filler neck. Okay. Got everything out of the way. Released our straps. And of course we disconnected it. The lines here. I couldn't get this one off, but I was able to get this one off. This is the pressure, this is the return. All right. And then we disconnected our pump right there. So now we're gonna open this thing up and see what it looks like. Alright, there's our pump. So there it is. Let's take a look inside. You can see it's pretty clean in there. It's not really that bad. I've seen them all rusted up. This one's actually pretty good. The pump's not good. Pretty easy. Just a couple bolts. Remove the leads. And then change that out. Should be good to go. I'll be back. Alright, we got a fuel pump on order. I went ahead and put 2 bolts back in there just so water and stuff doesn't fall back in there. I got the fuel pump in the mail. Ordered it on Amazon. I'll put the part link in the description below. But basically, it looks exactly the same. Let's take a look. Alright, so here's it came in the box here. It's a Amazon special. I got the pump here, looks exactly the same diameter. Came with a rubber gasket, which goes down on the bottom. A new strainer, which we need because this one's kind of jacked up. And some clamps and stuff. I'll probably reuse these clamps, or I actually prefer these better. These spring clamps, they're better than the screw clamps. So we'll just swap the wires over. Put the new pump in. Looks like it just slides out of this bracket here. The gasket and the strainer. And we should be in business. And we just broke it. Yeah, I was afraid of that. Okay, I'm back. Got a new fuel strainer. Went to O'Reilly's, they had one in stock, so obviously don't break the one that I had with the hammer. What happens is, as it seats, here you can see it right here, as it seats, then the case right here pushes on this, and if you keep hitting it after it gets to this point, then it's going to break. So I tapped it again, you can see the mark there. I tapped this one back on with the hammer. That's okay, just go slow. And then once this starts to contact right there, stop. And then you have this little metal washer right here, and this keeper, and that just goes on there to keep it from coming loose. You probably don't even need that, as long as you get it seated on there really nice. And then you can see there's a metal band that just keeps it from falling off and expanding. So now we have our fuel pump good to go. We'll install it in our hat and put it back in. So this little rubber bumper just goes on, and then the whole thing smashes up underneath this keeper. Goes on like that. You can tell there's a little bit of strain up here, so we'll just relieve the strain. Should be good to go. Let's do a little test. Make sure it works. Negative to the white black. Positive. And it works. Okay, so pump is good now. Sorry. That way we'll be able to connect it when we get it in there. And now we just got to put the tank back in. So I think I got to put the left side up in above the exhaust first and then shimmy up the right side. So I'm going to try that. It's kind of awkward down here. Alright, that seems to work. Okay, I think I got one. Okay, we got our bolt adjusted here, and now these lines have plenty of room to hook up our return and our feed right there. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and tighten up this last strap. Alright, so we got our straps on, tank is up, checked the connector already. Now we gotta connect up all our lines here, tighten our fuel filler neck with the screw clamp, tighten all these up, hook up our feed and return, and put in our cross member. And we should be ready to give her a shot. So let's get started. The fuel line's all hooked up. Put about 6 gallons of gas in here. I hooked up the pump and closed the access hatch right there, and the sender, cleaned everything out a little bit, policed up my tools. If you recall, we had undone the fuel line up here by the fuel filter. So the fuel filter line, we had cracked that to see if we could get it to pump, but it should be good to go. Shouldn't really take too much priming. Let's double check that our return is hooked up so we don't make a mess. Okay, that should be good to go. Let's give it a shot and see if she'll start. Battery might be dead, we'll see. It's trying. Let's get the jump box out. Set it to standard, crank, start. See if that helps. Just in time for it to start raining. And she runs! All right. Well, I'm gonna let it run for a little while. I gotta put away my tools, getting ready to storm out here, so.